You good to go? Well, kia ora. Today we're here at Papatoetoe Intermediate where we've been able to talk to the principal and students about the school lunches program. This was a school that had a really viable, thriving school lunches program before the government made their funding cuts. As a result of the funding cuts, they've gone from having fresh, healthy meals delivered each day to a situation now where they're having food brought in each day. If it arrives, many days it hasn't been arriving. The kids are having butter chicken again today. I understand that several days in a row now they've been having butter chicken. Perhaps they're looking to break records on the amount of butter chicken that they're going to try and serve. But actually the kids are pretty disappointed, and there's a big increase in food wastage. So a lot of kids who were previously getting a free healthy lunch each day aren't eating the food that's now being delivered. When he was in opposition, David Seymour was complaining about the fact that the previous program had food wastage of about 6%, if that, bearing in mind that of that 6%, a lot of it was actually being sent home with kids at the end of the day, so it didn't actually go to waste. Now the food waste that schools are reporting is so much higher than that. Some schools reporting that lunches are barely being touched on a daily basis because the food is just inedible. And I think, frankly, our kids deserve better. For a lot of these kids, the free, healthy lunch that they were getting really changed the way they were engaging in education. It meant that they didn't have hungry tummies. They were able to focus on their learning, not worry about the fact that they didn't have anything to eat. Unfortunately, all of that is now being compromised because of some very short-sighted funding cuts by the current government. I think really it's time for David Seymour to admit that he's made a mistake here. This new program isn't working. The lunches that are being provided are not eatable. Some cases they don't show up at all. Where they are showing up, they're not meeting dietary requirements. So this school here, for example, is a pork-free school. It's a halal school, and one of the days they got ham sandwiches arriving. Clearly not fitting the brief here for this school at all, and many of those students wouldn't go anywhere near those lunches, so leaving them hungry once again. I think we should show more respect to our young people than that. I want to see kids engaged in their learning. I want to see kids eating a good lunch. I don't want to see them going hungry during the day, being given food that they aren't allowed to eat because of their beliefs. And I think really David Seymour's got to admit that this has just been a total disaster. Schools reporting on a daily basis that things are going wrong for them. I think David Seymour should also be upfront with the data around what's actually happening. How many schools have been going without lunches being delivered, or being delivered late, or not being delivered in an edible state? How many schools have been getting the wrong lunches? How much of the food that's being delivered is actually going to waste, is ending up being thrown out at the end of the day, bearing in mind that he thought 6% was a terrible waste. Well, if he thinks that was a terrible waste, what does he think now when potentially the majority of lunches are being thrown out by some schools because kids just won't eat them? I think really David Seymour needs to front up. He needs to provide more information, and he needs to admit that he's really messed this up. If he can't do that, then I think the Prime Minister should do something about it for him. All right, all good. Thank you. Cheers.